My beloved child, before you decide this message is about clothes alone, don't. What your soulmate noticed was never the price of what you wear, the brand on the label, or the colors you choose. They noticed something hidden beneath every outfit, something most people walk past without ever seeing. The first time their eyes rested on you, they quietly wondered why someone who carries such a beautiful spirit still dresses as if they are trying not to be noticed. That single thought stayed with them far longer than they expected. Don't skip, because what they realized next completely changed the way they began looking at you. Every small detail became a clue, every simple choice became part of a story only they seemed able to read. And the closer they looked, the more impossible it became to ignore the feeling growing inside their heart. Something huge is waiting for you. There was one moment they have never spoken about. You walked into a room believing nobody was paying attention, yet your soulmate couldn't look away. It wasn't because you were trying to impress anyone. It was because your quiet confidence appeared for just a second before you hid it again. They noticed how you adjusted your sleeves, how you smiled without realizing it, and how your eyes searched for comfort instead of attention. In that moment they whispered to themselves, "This person has no idea how unforgettable they are." Since then, every time they imagined their future, that image returned again and again. They started wondering what had convinced you to hide the brightest parts of yourself, and they secretly wished they could be the one to remind you that you never needed to become someone else to deserve love. Stay till the end, because the next realization they had is something they never expected. What happens next is the reason this story becomes unforgettable. Your soulmate has been carrying a sentence inside their heart, afraid to let anyone hear it because they believed the timing wasn't right. They finally understood that the way you dress isn't a reflection of fashion, it reflects chapters of your life that no one else has taken the time to understand. Instead of judging you, they admired your quiet strength, your authenticity, and the way you remained yourself in a world constantly asking people to pretend. And now they are closer than ever to revealing what they truly feel. The words they are preparing to say are not what you think, they are far deeper, far more personal, and they could change the way you see yourself forever. Don't skip, because the next chapter uncovers the exact words they have been rehearsing in silence, and they may leave you completely shocked. There is something your soulmate has never admitted to anyone, and the reason they kept it hidden is because they were afraid you would never believe them. Every time they remembered the way you dressed on that unforgettable day, they felt the same emotion return. It wasn't excitement. It wasn't curiosity. It was peace. In a world where everyone seemed desperate to impress, you unknowingly gave them something they hadn't felt in a very long time, a reason to believe that genuine people still exist. They began replaying that moment over and over, searching for an explanation, but every answer led them back to you. Don't skip, because the next truth is the one they have protected the most. Something huge is waiting for you, and once you hear it, you'll understand why they couldn't walk away, even when they tried. They noticed something almost nobody else could have seen. On the days when your outfit looked simple, your smile somehow became brighter. On the days when you looked your best, there was still a quiet sadness hiding behind your eyes. That contradiction stayed in their mind. They realized you weren't trying to gain anyone's approval, you were simply surviving your own silent battles while continuing to move forward. From that moment, their feelings stopped being based on appearance and became something much deeper. They started imagining what it would feel like to stand beside you during your happiest days and your hardest ones. Every passing day made one thought louder inside their heart: if this person ever discovers how extraordinary they truly are, the entire world around them will change. Stay till the end, because what they are preparing to confess next has been waiting inside them far longer than you can imagine. And if this story is touching your heart, share it with someone who still believes real connections exist. But here is the revelation they have never spoken aloud. They didn't fall for your style, they fell for the story they believed your heart was silently telling through it. They saw kindness where others saw simplicity. They saw confidence trying to bloom beneath old doubts. They saw someone worth protecting, encouraging, and loving without asking them to become anyone else. That realization scared them because they knew feelings this deep don't appear every day. Since then, every new memory of you has only made their heart more certain that meeting you was never an accident. Don't skip, because the next moment changed everything between you and your soulmate forever, and the words they almost whispered that day are far more powerful than anyone could ever expect. Have you ever wondered why some people enter your life, notice one tiny detail about you, and then never see you the same way again? That is exactly what happened to your soulmate. Long before they understood their own feelings, they caught themselves remembering the smallest things about you. Not because they were trying to, but because every memory refused to leave. They remembered the colors you naturally chose, the way you carried yourself without asking for attention, and the quiet confidence that appeared when you thought no one was watching. That was the moment they realized they weren't simply noticing your appearance anymore, they were beginning to memorize you. Don't skip, because the next realization completely caught them off guard. Something huge is waiting for you, and it explains why your presence became impossible for them to forget. Then something happened that they still replay in their mind. Someone casually made a remark about the way you dressed, expecting them to agree. Instead, they became strangely protective. Without even thinking, they defended you, not because of your clothes, but because they understood something everyone else had missed. They saw authenticity where others only saw fabric. They saw quiet strength where others looked for perfection. In that single conversation, they realized they cared far more than they had ever admitted, even to themselves. That was the day they stopped asking whether they liked you, and started wondering how their future would feel if you were standing beside them. Stay till the end, because what happened after that conversation made their heart race in a way they never expected. From that day forward, every time they imagined seeing you again, one sentence echoed inside their heart. They wanted to tell you that you never needed expensive clothes, perfect fashion, or anyone's approval to become unforgettable. To them, your greatest quality had always been the quiet way you stayed true to yourself while the world kept asking people to pretend. That truth changed everything. It became the reason they could no longer ignore what they were feeling. And now, the words they have been holding back are closer than ever to being spoken. The confession they are preparing is far more personal than you could imagine, and the next chapter reveals the exact moment they decided they could no longer keep their heart silent. Don't skip, because what they are about to reveal may become the turning point you've been waiting for. There is one memory your soulmate has never been able to erase, no matter how much time has passed. It wasn't a grand event or a dramatic moment. It was unbelievably simple. You walked by without realizing anyone was paying attention, and for just a few seconds, you looked completely comfortable being yourself. That tiny moment became unforgettable. While everyone else quickly forgot it, your soulmate carried it in silence. They kept asking themselves why someone who never tried to stand out had become the one person they couldn't stop thinking about. Don't skip, because the answer they discovered changed everything they believed about love. Something huge is waiting for you. Days turned into weeks, yet their thoughts only became stronger. They began noticing that every outfit you wore seemed to tell the same quiet story. It wasn't about fashion. It was about honesty. They realized you never dressed to become someone different, you simply showed up as yourself. That truth touched a place in their heart they had carefully protected for years. They finally understood that what attracted them wasn't what your eyes could see in the mirror. It was the peace they felt whenever they imagined being beside someone so genuine. And then came the moment they never expected. They caught themselves imagining introducing you to the people who mattered most in their life. That thought startled them because it wasn't a passing feeling anymore. It was becoming a future they secretly hoped for. Stay till the end, because the next realization is the one they have been afraid to admit, even to themselves. The closer they came to understanding their heart, the more one question refused to leave them: what if this person has no idea how deeply they have already changed my life? They wanted to tell you that your quiet confidence inspired them, that your authenticity gave them hope, and that every ordinary moment with you somehow felt extraordinary. But they stayed silent, waiting for the perfect time. What they are preparing to say isn't a compliment, it's a confession that has been growing stronger with every passing day. The next chapter reveals the exact words they almost spoke, the moment they nearly let their heart take over, and why that single decision could change everything between you forever. Don't skip, because the biggest revelation is closer than ever, and nothing after this will feel the same again. The truth is far more surprising than anyone could have imagined. Your soulmate didn't just remember the way you dressed, they began connecting every small detail to the person they believed you truly were. One evening, without even realizing it, they caught themselves smiling while thinking about you. It wasn't because of a special event or a conversation. It was because they suddenly understood that your quiet presence had become one of the happiest parts of their day. That realization frightened them. Feelings this deep had never arrived so naturally before. They tried convincing themselves it was temporary, yet every attempt only pulled them closer to you. Don't skip, because the next discovery completely changed the direction of their heart. Something huge is waiting for you. Then came a moment they never planned for. While everyone around them was busy talking, your name quietly entered the conversation. The instant they heard it, everything else seemed to disappear. Without thinking, they started asking questions about you, not out of curiosity, but because every new detail felt strangely important. They wanted to know what made you laugh, what dreams kept you awake at night, and what kind of future you secretly hoped for. That was when they realized something impossible to ignore. They no longer wanted to admire you from a distance. They wanted to understand you completely. In their heart, your simple way of dressing had become a symbol of something rare, a reminder that authenticity still exists in a world full of masks. Stay till the end, because the next moment is the one they have replayed more than any other. Now they stand at the edge of a decision that could change everything. Every passing day makes it harder for them to keep pretending these feelings are ordinary. They have imagined the conversation countless times, wondering how you would react if they finally admitted what has been growing inside their heart since the very first day they noticed you. They don't want to impress you with perfect words, they want you to know the truth. The person they fell for was never created by fashion, appearance, or attention. It was created by the quiet strength, kindness, and sincerity they saw in you when no one else seemed to notice. And the words they are finally ready to speak carry a meaning far greater than either of you expected. The next chapter reveals the confession they have been holding back for so long. And once those words are spoken, nothing between you and your soulmate will ever feel the same again. Writing. There is one final piece of the story your soulmate has carried in silence, and it explains why every memory of you feels so different from every memory they have of anyone else. They once asked themselves a question they could not escape: why does this one person stay on my mind, even after the day is over? The answer didn't arrive immediately. It unfolded little by little, until they finally understood that it was never your appearance that captured their heart. It was the feeling of calm they experienced whenever they imagined you. They realized that your quiet way of expressing yourself made them feel safe enough to be completely real. Don't skip, because what they decided after this realization is something they never thought they would have the courage to do. Something huge is waiting for you. As time passed, they stopped trying to ignore the truth. Instead, they began paying attention to the smallest moments that most people would never notice. They remembered the confidence hidden inside your silence, the kindness that showed itself without asking for recognition, and the honesty reflected in the way you carried yourself every single day. Those little details became impossible to replace. They even caught themselves imagining a future where ordinary moments with you would become their favorite memories. That thought made their heart race, because for the first time they weren't dreaming about a perfect relationship. They were dreaming about a real one, built on trust, understanding, and the beautiful simplicity they had discovered in you. Stay till the end, because the next truth is the one that changed everything inside them forever. Now their heart is no longer asking whether they should tell you how they feel. It is only asking when. They have realized that life offers very few connections that feel this genuine, and they don't want fear to become the reason they lose something extraordinary. If they could stand in front of you today, they wouldn't begin by talking about your clothes at all. They would quietly tell you that the way you chose to be yourself inspired them to become more honest with their own heart. They would tell you that every simple moment with you became unforgettable because it felt real. And finally, they would confess the words they have repeated only in silence: I didn't fall in love with what you wore. I fell in love with the person you never pretended to be. Don't skip, because the next chapter reveals what happens when those words are finally spoken, and the answer is more emotional than either of you ever imagined.